A year ago, it's where two of the tallest buildings in the world stood. Now, a simple, small circle commemorates the hallowed ground. For the first time, family members of those victims descend on Ground Zero to see with their own eyes where loved ones were lost. New Yorkers and people from around the world came because they felt they had to. And most feel the anniversary is a chance not only to look back, but to look forward as another chapter of this city's history begins.
It's extremely sad, but it's also a day that you gotta say, all right, let's pick up and we gotta keep moving.
In years past, the weekend before September 11th, the people you'd see walking around the World Trade Center looked much like those we saw today. A diverse group from many states and varied cultures. But never before have they gathered here with such a united purpose. Nothing else could help love. Some came from just a few hours away to share a message of hope.
Fallen but not forgotten, testimony of fallen heroes.
Others came seeking comfort, healing, and closure.
And I'm hoping, it's going to bring some healing and, a lot of hope.
Hopefully, we can figure out a way to deal with this so everybody remains safe and secure.
I really can't put it into words what our feelings are. I know it's just such an incredible loss.
And some made the pilgrimage to reassure their children who are still filled with frightful images of that dark day last September. Meanwhile, all around them, workers continue to toil at Ground Zero while others prepare for Wednesday's ceremonies. This crew barely escaped with their lives last year. They were on the job September 11th in the shadow of the terrorized towers.
And as it turned out, we all know what happened, so we wound up having to do a little run-in to get out of the area, and we wound up...
Everywhere, people captured the scene with cameras, a scene filled with reminders of American pride and resolve.
And when you see work like this and when you see American spirit like this, it makes you proud to be a part of it.
It was like any other morning in the firehouse, and all of a sudden someone said something about a plane hitting the World Trade Center.
Yeah, we're watching, and then another plane hit. And I'm like, well, now we know it isn't an accident.
The firefighters at Engine Company 58 in Harlem never knew what they were walking into.
Fire, and then you start seeing people jump in.
John Wilson and Scott Paskowitz were among the 7 firefighters and 1 lieutenant dispatched to what would soon become a living nightmare, a war.
It took a couple of steps to run, and then we just got thrown to the floor, not knowing that it was the tower coming down.
And everything went black. We got knocked down, from the wind behind me, just picked you up, threw you, rolled you.
The South Tower of the World Trade Center had collapsed, trapping their boss, Lieutenant Bobby Nagel, in the rubble. But he was still alive.
But we could see him, we could talk to him.
We handed him a flashlight through the rubble. We could see his hand, but that was it. But
he said he was okay.
He said he was all right.
A desperate rescue attempt was underway, but then...
And we just took off again.
And we were just laying there, waiting pretty much to die, waiting for the ceiling to fall on top of us because, I figured we were lucky enough to survive it once. There's no way we're going to survive it again.
But they did, escaping death a second time. Their lieutenant wasn't so lucky. To this day, he is still missing.
We never saw Bob again. We just never found nothing. Never found a helmet. We never found a coat. We never found anything.
We were right with him, and we knew exactly where he was, and we never found him.
Well, that's Bob's extra turnout code. Everybody's issued 2. Obviously, his other one is, we don't know where.
Still, even a year later, another day brings another funeral. Is there any day you don't think about September 11th?
Not so far.
It is a day that has given a new perspective only these guys would know.
For some reason, the Lord didn't want me, or didn't need me, or didn't want me, and I don't know. I'm just thinking that he left me here for something, maybe.
The firehouse itself is the best thing for it. That's when you, I guess, you feel most at ease with everything because these are the only people who can understand, what you went through.
In New York City, Chris O'Connell. Just like every Sunday for the past 233 years, Parishioners gather inside St. Paul's Chapel, just across the street from where the World Trade Center once stood.
They were quiet. They were frightened out of their wits.
Father Stuart Hoke's message of the day, good over evil, telling worshipers his story of September 11th.
We all thought we were going to die, and we thought it was going to be within minutes.
Amidst the chaos and confusion, as the Twin Towers were collapsing, Father Hoke did not run away. He stayed and did what he does best. He prayed.
And I went in and began, as I said, an impromptu service, scripture, hymns, prayers.
St. Paul's is the oldest public building in New York, where George Washington worshiped on his inauguration day. The church has made it through the Revolutionary War, the Great Fires of New York.
And it was always a part of history, and now I think it's a part of a history in a way that it never was before. It's a part of new history.
When it seemed like all hope was lost, under a pile of rubble, twisted metal, and concrete, the church stood tall, surviving the worst terrorist attack the world has ever seen. Just 50 feet away from ground zero, among the ashes and debris, the only physical damage here to St. Paul's was an uprooted tree, a couple overturned headstones, and one broken window.
And every window all over, both everywhere you see was knocked out. The hotel right there was seriously damaged. This place was fine.
It was then the church became known as the Ground Zero Ministry, a sanctuary for firefighters and police officers whose scuff marks still remain in the pews they used as beds.
The whole world knows about this church and what they did for the people of New York, for the firemen, and so it was just important to me.
Now the church serves as a beacon of hope for the future.
And I was moved to come here this morning just really to mark the events of last year and to come and have some peace and quiet and think about it.
Outside, a makeshift memorial lines the fence, honoring the thousands of victims.
It'll be a place of hope and healing, as well as a place to come and express grief for what has been a monstrous tragedy.